Now that I've placed my schedule on my sheet, I want to change the graphical appearance of the schedule to make it a bit more pleasing to the eye, let's say, rather than this kind of very tabulated format that Revit automatically gives me by default. So if I click on, well, I'll zoom in a little bit first. If I click on Room Schedule, and if I click on the Appearance Properties, you can see here how I can change the properties of the schedule. So if we start at the top, I can choose to have grid lines, and I can choose the line style. So if I turn grid lines off, unfortunately there's no apply button here, so I cannot click apply to see the changes. I have to edit, I have to close the dialog box and click OK, so apologies for the backwards and forwards. So I click OK. You can see how the grid lines have been removed. I can add grid lines again, and I can change the to say hidden line. Click OK, and you can see how it just changes the entire grid. So I'll change these back to thin lines. I can place a grid in the headers, footers and spacers if I have any. So for example, the blank row at the beginning, and also the rows at the bottom as well. However, I'm going to keep that off because I like the separation between the headers and the data. I can have an outline to my schedule, so I can say set this to wide lines, click OK, and you can see how it's created a thick outline to my schedule. But again, it's not consistent due to the control points of the schedule. Click on Room Schedule, click on Appearance. So I'm going to remove the outline. So I can have a blank row before the data, which is this line up here. If I untick blank line, blank row, again it changes the setting out of my schedule, and also it doesn't provide such a clear separation between the headers and the actual schedule data. So again, I would rather keep the blank row. Another feature I can use is I can stripe the rows. How useful you think that it is, I will leave it up to you. But if you click stripe rows, you can either stripe the first row color or the second row, and then it will stripe them alternatively. So if I click stripe first row, OK, stripe the first row, and I change the color to say a light red, click OK. You have the option of showing the stripe rows on the sheet or not, so I'll keep that ticked for now. Click OK, and you can see how it alternate stripes the rows, starting with the first row. I'm just going to, in order to get back to the schedule view, rather than going through the project browser, you can also double click on the schedule itself. So when you hover over and it highlights in blue, if I double click with my left mouse button, it actually takes me back to the schedule view, and you can see the striping here. You obviously can't see the grid lines, so sometimes you have to use a combination of looking in the schedule view and the sheet for you to see the changes that you've made to the appearance. If I go back to the sheet up here and click on the schedule, click appearance, and if I untick show stripe rows on sheet, you can see how it removes the striping from the sheet, but if I go back into the room schedule, it still has the striping here. Another thing to note is that you can zoom in and out of schedules. If I hold Control and use my mouse scroll wheel, you can actually zoom in and out a bit like you can in Excel. So you can see larger data sets and a large number of rows. Obviously the screen and the text gets smaller. If I go back to the appearance properties of the schedule, I'll remove the stripe rows. I can also choose to show the title or show the headers. So if I untick both of these, if you watch up at the top of the schedule here, Click OK. You can see that the title and the headers have disappeared. I'll keep those. You can change the text, so you can change the title text, the header text, and the body text. So I'll just quickly reset that first. Go back to my appearance, and then I can change the title text to say 3.5mm Arial bold, the header text to 3.5mm Arial, and then keep the body text at 2.5mm Arial. Okay. And you can see how the text changes at the top here. I'll just reset these. We will look at more advanced ways of editing the appearance of the schedule using the ribbon in the next section. So that's it for this first section on how to create a basic schedule and place it on a sheet and change the basic properties such as filtering, sorting and grouping, formatting and appearance.